One of the most common questions I get when working with guys is how to manage sexual energy. And it's something that I've struggled with for a long time, along with my plenty of other addictions to alcohol, weed, entertainment, shopping, food. Sex and porn was definitely up there on the list of ways to escape. And now that I've finally put that in the past, I feel confident enough to talk about this subject. So, why do we look at porn? Well, I guess going back to the beginning for me, it was more of a curiosity more than anything. My parents told me to wait till I was married to have sex, and that was pretty much the extent of my birds and the bees conversation. There wasn't much there from them. So I was on my own, and led me to explore on the internet and what have you. So it started off as more of a curiosity, and then it became an addiction over time. And we look at porn typically to feel better. We get a dopamine rush, we get this temporary high, and we escape into the orgasm, into the whole process. All the problems of the world go away for a little bit, and you're in your own little world, and it feels good. It's pleasurable, and you can escape. And what we're trying to do on a subconscious level is raise our Shakti, raise our energy. We want to feel the energy moving in our body. And so we find this outlet on this magical little device that can stream people having sex in front of us. So that's why we do it. More for an escape, for release of the pressure that we feel until we learn to manage our sexual animal instincts. And when you're young, it's really hard. When I was in my early 20s, I was insatiable. I would jerk off so much that when it came time to have sex with someone, my dick wouldn't work because I jerked off 3 times, 4 times that day. Insane. So I was coping with a lot. I didn't understand why I didn't feel good in my body. This is before I knew all the things that I know now. So when we preserve our sexual energy, in the spiritual sense, there's something in the Eastern tradition called ojas. And this is a subtle energy that when we make semen, after we have a good supply of semen, then we begin to produce ojas, which is this more subtle energy. So it's kind of like going from bigger to smaller to smaller to smaller. The subtle energy is very delicate, and it takes time to build. You can call it your chi or whatever prana energy you want to call it, but it builds when we preserve our semen retention, when we don't bust our nut every day. So once we understand the importance of why we don't just go wasting our energy, in the Hindu tradition, this is our sacral energy. Our most sacred energy is our sexual energy. It has the ability to create life, to create people. It has all of the history of our DNA all wrapped up in it. It's this powerful force. So powerful that people go insane and they'll actually violate other people just so they can get it out of them, which we'll get into that more later, the attachments that come with this type of stuff. So just understand that when you preserve your semen, you get this subtle energy, call it ojas or chi, whatever you want to call it, and it begins to build. And so we get more confident, I've noticed I'm not depressed anymore. I don't feel sad. I don't feel like I'm lacking energy. I have more vigor in my body. I'm just more ready to do things. When I was masturbating every day, you can feel it when you're done. You're so tired. You just want to lay down. You want to take a nap. You feel ashamed. You're never proud of yourself after you go watch some porn and masturbate. It's just not something that you're like, oh, good thing I did that. It's the exact opposite. You feel shame and you're like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. At least that's what I felt. And if you're in your lower 3D body, if you're not on the spiritual path of growth, then you're probably not going to resonate with this. This is for once you start wanting to grow and come into your light body, then you're going to realize, oh, all this energy I've been wasting by blowing my load every day. It's my body. You can function, you can still have a job, you can still do all the things, but you're not going to have the same approach and confidence that you would, and you're not going to be aligned to your inner energy systems. So what happens when we look at porn? In the modern age, have you ever gone to a crystal shop and there was a black obelisk disc? This is used in divination and Western esoteric traditions as scarring, looking into and finding images in this black mirror to tap into the quantum field, basically. You're tapping into this bigger, the infinite that surrounds us. And when you do scarring, traditionally, you'll have an intention, you'll have prayers for your angels and your ancestors to guide you and protect you. And it's approached very seriously because you're entering into this realm where angels and demons exist, the good and the bad, all these different entities exist. So you're careful and you're protected. Well, in our modern age, what is our smartphone? It is the exact same thing. It is just a modern scarring disc. It is tapping into different portals. And imagine if you had the same intention every time you picked up your phone, praying for protection, praying for your ancestors, and then jumping into it. That's really how we should be using this. This technology is insane to just have, especially letting kids use it and all that. So we're using this magical portal device when we're looking at porn to look into these different portals, into these different realities. And the people in these realities, oftentimes they don't want to be doing this stuff. Either they're forced against their will, they're all drugged up, they're just in a bad place. And I can speak to this a little bit. It's embarrassing as hell. But I was looking for money, some extra cash, and I did camming for a weekend where you go on the cam, get naked, and do whatever for people for money. I ended up making $200, whatever, in a weekend or something, but it felt very low frequency when I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, this is insane. But it felt very yucky. This is not, do I really need to do this kind of thing? And it's because that is the lowest frequency of our body. Our sexual survival is a lower frequency. It's not in the upper, in your heart and above. It's in your lower chakra. So it's not necessarily bad into itself. But when you're just using it to get paid, it feels kind of gross. And the people on there were very gross as well. They wanted me to insult them and call them names and just dehumanize them, basically. They just wanted me to bring them down lower, and it was just this I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. This is dumb. So I did camming for a weekend, so I have some experience in this field, you could say. And it was, it just felt gross. I mean, so most of the people that are doing this aren't doing it because it's something that they've dreamed of doing and it's what they've always aspired to. It's usually they're down on their luck and they don't think they have any other way out, so they're gonna do porn. And so back to the magical portal of a smartphone, we're using that to dive into this reality. And so between you and that person going into this quantum field, that's where the attachments and the entities come, especially if you are a light being, if you should be a light worker, if you're a starseed, if you're an old soul and you're on the path of growing and being this light for the world. These entities will come and find you. They'll be attached to your light. They'll be attracted by your light. And they're going to find you and attach to you. And that's why when you want to stop, like for me, I was like, all right, I'm done with this. I'm done watching porn. I got to cut it out. I know it's not good for me. It's not helping anybody. With sex, at least you're sharing a moment, this creative, blissful moment with somebody, and that's can still be abused, but at least you're sharing it with somebody. At least you're enjoying this moment, whereas and you're sharing your energy with someone. Whereas when you're just alone jerking off in your room, you're not sharing that energy with anybody. You're just wasting it on yourself. You're just self-centered, focusing on yourself, blowing your energy into a sock for a temporary high. So eventually that will get old, and you'll find videos like this and channels like this that there's a reason why people are talking about this online. So eventually I was like decided, all right, I'm done with this, and like I could go a couple days, and then this attachment on my psyche is just like, hey, you can go. And especially it'd be like when I'm stressed out or something happens where I get stressed and I'm like, I don't want to deal with this or whatever. Don't want to face the thing that I should be facing. I could just turn to go jerk off for an hour and not have to face it, and then I'll be tired, and then whatever, I won't have to deal with it. But I will have to deal with it, obviously. But this attachment comes where you decide you want to quit. A week later, this thing comes in you and tells you like, hey, this is here. You can find this, and it feeds off of you going into this dark, lower energy. So I could handle that for a week or whatever, and then if you try and do this, you'll realize that it'll begin to come into your dreams. When you're sleeping, when you're unconscious, you'll start having these sexual dreams, and it's, again, this attachment is trying to lure you in to giving it a space to feed, letting it feed off of you. And you gotta go through that. That tripped me up for a while. I was like, I'd be doing fine, I'd go a week or two, then have this crazy sexual dream, and I was like, I guess I should go back into that world, break out the phone again, and then the cycle would continue until eventually I learned to transmute this energy, and it's really just a decision. You got to just decide, like, hey, the life that I can live outside of this attachment is worth so much more than this temporary high that it doesn't even exist. It's not even real. It's just a completely made up scenario in your brain. You're getting all this dopamine, all this rush from something that doesn't even exist. Like, at least when you have sex with someone, you have to earn their attention with your personality or your body or your money. Like, there's going to be some kind of reason why this person is attracted to you and wants to have sex with you. And if you don't put in the work to do all these things, that it's hard to be attractive to females or whoever you're into. It's hard to be a magnet. You want to be a charismatic magnet for people. There is a reason why people are drawn to you. And if you just don't go and try and achieve all these things that comes with being a charismatic magnet, you're just not gonna get it. You're just not gonna fulfill your potential. This is the longest video I've done. This could be a whole channel unto itself. But yeah, if you'd like some help with this is, like I said, one of the most common questions and things that I work with guys, especially. Different things I've learned how to manage the sexual energy. Being aware of it is the first step. So I offer one-on-one coaching if you want to dive into this. Yeah, I can give you plenty of tips and see where your triggers are, why you want to escape the way you do, and all the addictions are really the same root. You don't feel safe, you don't feel good in this world, you don't feel comfortable here, so you try and reach out to external stimuli. But jordanjdragon.com. First 30-minute consultation is free for now. And yeah, reach out. Love to hear from you. Ciao.